Hey y'all, so today's video is supposed to just be a get ready with me, kind of also trying new makeup because I am going to reluctantly apply the Urban Decay Naked Wild West palette onto my eyes in this video. So that was the only plan, but then as I was prepping for it, I was thinking that it might be interesting to do a thing where I just put on the makeup that I feel like putting on, like the makeup that I would be wearing today, that I would be putting on for the get ready with me. But then at the end, I tally up how much it cost, like basically what the overall cost was of the makeup that I just casually selected to put on my face for a day. And then I can ruminate on that and maybe there will be some takeaways. It's not an original idea, but I don't think I've ever done this. So today I'm going to do it. If this is your first time to my channel, I'm so glad that you clicked on this video. I'm Hannah. I love beautiful things. I love beauty. And I always like to, make space for this other side of the beauty industry and the beauty YouTube community, which is that it involves spending a lot of money, and sometimes spending a lot of money can get us into trouble. So I'm always navigating that relationship as I navigate this weird world of being a content creator. I hope that you'll subscribe if that sounds good to you. Now let's go ahead and get into the meat of this video. This today is like my ideal light situation in the background. It's because of the time of day. I'm managing to sit down pretty early in the morning. I wish that it always looked like this. I feel like this back there, the way that it looks is like the best of the best. Look at the jade plants. Look at them all, like they're just like these little spots of glowy bits. I love that. So I don't have anything on my face, obviously, because I want to go through, I want to keep track of everything that I put on so that I can truly account for everything. And I dyed my eyebrows last night and I did like kind of a bad job. I wasn't paying that much attention. And then I washed off the dye in the shower and then I didn't like check again when I got back from the shower to make sure it wasn't super uneven. And I feel like it is kind of uneven in the middle. Anyway, it'll just be a couple days and then it'll start to fade and it'll look normal, but it might look a little wonky today. But I'm gonna count actually my brow kit, the cost of it in the project of, counting up how much everything that I put on my face costs, not including skincare. But I'm gonna count this because when my brows are freshly dyed, I don't choose to use any other filling products. I just have the color be because of the dye, and then I go in with soap. And then when the brow dye starts to fade, sometimes I start going in with pencils or something. But I feel like for the purposes of this look today, I paid the amount that I paid when I bought this in order to get my brows to look the way they're gonna look when I bought this and when I bought this, which is the soap that I'm about to put in them. I'm also going to add in the cost of the spray that I use to wet the brow soap. It's not water. I use this Glossier face mist, which I didn't actually buy. It was a gift from a friend, but I'm still going to account for the cost. And I think at the end, I'm actually also going to separate the things that I paid for from the things that I didn't pay for, which will maybe help me create some takeaways. And I'm gonna count brushes too. The point is like, I'm always just randomly reaching for stuff. I think that we all are. We're always just like, oh, my X, my Y, my Z, and like we're grabbing it and using it and never really remembering like how much the initial investment was in all of this stuff. Or in the case of watching people on YouTube, often forgetting that there wasn't an investment of actual money on the part of the person who's showcasing the item, but rather it was just an investment of their time and their work, but that they didn't pay for the thing. So trying to like remember how much this stuff costs that we're always using, I think that could be a way of reminding ourselves that it's not as wise, or maybe not making it a less easy decision to then go forth and spend a whole bunch more money on ever newer things that fall into the exact same categories. I sprayed the spray into the soap. I worked up a bunch of gunk with the little spoolie. I brushed it into my brows. Then I kind of like wiped off the excess and pressed my brows down to my face. Then I went back with the spoolie and spiked up the parts of my brows that are close to the middle, and then I pressed them down with my finger again. And my brows have been growing like crazy lately. I think that the castor oil that I'm using is really working. I'll link it down below. I'm not going to count the cost of it because I'm counting it as skincare, but it's very inexpensive and it's a huge bottle and it's really, really working. They're going also crazy underneath. Like I haven't cleaned them up in a really long time because I just, can't be bothered. But they're also growing like where I want them to, you know what I mean? Like they're becoming fuller and I'm pretty delighted that the castor oil is working. I have a couple of brushes like this, angled brow brushes with a spoolie on the end. The one that I happened to grab today when I reached for one is from ABH. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills brow brush. And this is something I've owned for a really long time. I definitely bought it myself. I actually bought it back before my no-buy year, which means that I've owned it since before I started my YouTube channel. I actually just filmed, like literally just filmed and posted a very detailed technique-oriented base routine, like glowy base. It's basically how I get my skin to be glowy and to look smooth and even though I'm dealing with these blemishes right now. And I'm going to apply essentially the same thing, the same routine. I'll tell you after I do it every single product that I use in case anything is a surprise. I think a few things might differ a little bit from what I demonstrated in that video, but I am just going to whiz through it because I don't want to repeat myself and just, belabor in this video all of the same points that I went over in that video. I'll link that one at the top of the description box here in case you really want to know, you see me whizzing through it and you want to know exactly how or what I'm doing and you haven't seen that one, you can just click through and watch it kind of as an addendum to this video. Okay, that's it. I did it. And when I started, as I was making progress, some people started gardening aggressively, mowing lawns, and it's like, please, welcome to the stage, the lawnmower. But let me tell you what I used. So I used Glow Lust by Auric. I purchased this for review. My channel purchased it. Hannah Louise Poston, didn't purchase it. I'm actually going to count it when I'm separating at the end the cost of all of the PR that I used and the cost of the things that I bought myself. I'm going to put it in the PR category because the money for it didn't come out of my own funds. And if I didn't have a YouTube channel, I wouldn't have bought it with my own funds. So I feel like it doesn't really count in terms of what the cost was to me of the things that I'm using. My concealers, two of them I purchased myself and they were definitely purchased with my own money. That's the Makeup Forever Ultra HD and the NARS Soft Matte Complete Concealer. And then the third concealer I used is from Erin's Faces and this was PR. The brushes that I used when I was doing my base, one was a gift from my friend Simbri. It's by Royal and Langnickel. It's the Complexion BMD 185. One was PR from Erin's Faces. That's this double-ended concealer brush. And then this is the brush from the Urban Decay electric palette that I purchased for myself, again, before I even started my YouTube channel. I love this for concealer, but I'm not sure how I can account for the cost. I think that I probably have to actually count the entire cost of the electric palette because I had to buy the electric palette in order to acquire this brush. I used this Givenchy Prism Libre powder to powder my face and a little bit my neck. This was PR and I applied it with this brush, this Wayne Goss brush, the O2 brush, which I believe that I foolishly purchased for myself again back before I started my YouTube channel. It's interesting. There have been a number, I guess it's all brushes, but it just shows that tools tend to really last in one's makeup collection because I've used 3 things here that I purchased before I even started my channel and all of them were tools. And then to bronze up my neck, I used the Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter in Sahara. This actually was from Octoly, but it was a replacement for this, the one of these that I had purchased myself, and this is a staple item that I'll continue to purchase going forward. However, I didn't buy this particular one with my own money. So I applied that powder to my neck with the Tom Ford bronzer brush, which again, I didn't buy this for myself. It was a gift, but it's definitely going to add over $100 to the overall cost of how much this entire face costs, because that's an expensive brush. Okay, let's go in with the palette. Let's do the eyes. So this obviously came in PR pretty recently. I said in a video about new makeup releases that if they sent it to me, I would review it. And I think that this is that. Like, this is me reviewing it. I don't think I'm gonna film a full review of this because when I opened it, it just feels so lackluster. And you know, I did feature it pretty recently in a video where I was doing comparison swatches because I received this around the same time that I received in PR the Nebula palette from Kaleidos. And some of the standout shades in this are pretty much exactly the same as some of the standout shades in that. And I just enjoy the pigment and quality of that palette so much more. That got me thinking about comparing them on camera, and that was what led to me filming that video. And you know, if you saw it, then you saw that it's not like it's total garbage. I actually feel like it swatches out a little bit better than the Ultraviolet did, and some of the shadows have a little bit more promise than most of the ones did in that palette. I've played with it a little bit during makeup playtime. And again, it's definitely the naked version of this color story. You know what I mean? It's going to give you kind of like a light washy look. It's not garbage. It just doesn't really excite me. The color story doesn't really. I have these colors in other much more exciting palettes. I can get all the same looks with what I already have. And the formula doesn't really excite me either. And I just don't feel like it's exciting right now in makeup. I just don't feel like this is exciting makeup right now, even though it was just released. And so I just feel reluctant to like dedicate a whole entire video to basically just doing and saying all of the same things that I did and said when I reviewed the Ultraviolet version, except maybe a little bit gentler. But what I will do for you is I will apply it now and kind of talk you through my experience. I'm going to do kind of a lightish look. I don't want to get fallout onto this newly applied base. I don't really feel like wearing a super intense glam look all around today. So it's going to kind of be like what one would do if one had purchased this palette because one wanted a naked version of this color scheme. Kind of like a light, washy, not too impactful version. First, I'm going to prime my eyes. I'm using the Alter Ego eyeshadow base, which I really like. It was PR. There are actually so many brow hairs growing underneath my brows, like from here to my brows, that I will have to do kind of a light look. I can't really bring a bunch of glossy shadow up to my brows like I often do because there's no way to get an even blend over all of those brow hairs right now. Should I use the brush that's in here? I might keep this brush, especially given that I've had such a lasting relationship with the brush from the Electric palette. My relationship with this brush has long outlasted my relationship with the palette, even though I did have that palette for quite a while. But yeah, for the sake of it, I'll just use this brush because, you know, I'm trying to review, or at the very least demonstrate, this palette. Okay, I'm gonna start with this kind of, you know, it's like the most neutral of these three very warm toned. It's the most neutral and maybe the darkest of these three very warm toned neutral shades at the end of the palette. I actually like it. I was worried this kind of thing always goes too orange on me, and well, but now it's doing that weird kind of slightly grippy thing as I layer it up. It's really not designed, I don't think, to be layered, this palette, this formula. I feel like these palettes are really for people who don't apply their eyeshadow like artists ever. They just kind of are trying to get a little bit of a something, you know, to wear on Zoom or to go out in or something. Because I can't help myself, I'm going to deepen up the crease with this. It's like an ashy, like a slightly warm ashy gray color. This is one of the shades that's very similar color-wise to one of the mattes in the Kaleidos palette that I really, really love. It's a color that I really, really love. Swatched out, the Kaleidos one is smoother and has a lot more pigment. You know, but in theory, this one would work better for someone who doesn't know what to do with a lot of pigment. It just makes it hard to get a strong look if that's what you ever want. Yeah, it's like these shadows, these colors, when I try to build them, they start to sort of stick and do that kind of wet chalk thing where they look a little bleedy around the edges. Like the paler one, the more yellow one, it started to bleed to sort of a bright, it's very subtle. I'm just describing it to you because I can see it very close in. It sort of starts to bleed to like this very bright yellow around the edges, and then it sticks in like a chalky way in the middle. And then as I start layering up the gray one, the same thing sort of happens. If you want anything other than a subtle look, they become a little bit difficult to work with. If you love a subtle look and you only ever want a subtle look, I can imagine that they are actually probably nice to work with. And it's probably, I mean, I think it must be the case that they are, because clearly they sell well and they do well because they keep making them. Or maybe the only thing that that's indicative of is that a reputation, a really old reputation for having kind of created some of the original viral eyeshadow palettes takes you much further in terms of sales than being on the cutting edge of formula and color story and quality for all of the true makeup lovers and artists in the world. And that may be the case. That may be why they continue to make them. It may be because the thing that they have, the clout that they have, just takes them further, and then they don't have to do that other thing. Basically, the shadows aren't unusable. It's just not my preference. You know, these kinds of things and the kinds of looks that you get with these, it's not my preference. I'm gonna go into this one right here, this shiny silver, which is one of the only things that really allures me in this palette. I'll give you a close-up. I mean, that's not pretty. I'm gonna put it all over my lids. It's not pretty, but it's also not very shiny when it's applied, even with a finger. Yeah, that I said that it was one of the only things that allures me about this palette, but now that I've applied it to my eyes, I'm feeling like if I don't bring an end to this charade soon, I'm going to lose my patience. So I'm just gonna buff some of the mattes out underneath my eyes and throw on a little mascara and kind of just, I might try to work with the outer corner a little bit. I need to move on from this. The palette's gonna like put me in a bad mood. I'm sort of trying to be realistic, you know what I mean, about what this palette might be on the market and who it might be for. And then I go in with that really shiny looking silver and I get these like crumbles, these like white crumbles on my lids. And I'm like, how dare you? How dare you? Yeah, I'm gonna try to deepen the outer corner with this dark brown. That's helping to save it a little bit. You can get a subtly sculpted brown look with this palette. It doesn't look horrible, but I feel like that's because I really leaned into the nakedness of it all. I didn't try to fight it. And, you know, I didn't do a horrible job, I hope, applying it. And so it doesn't look horrible. But it's definitely not what I want from a palette that looks the way that this one does. You know what I mean? It's definitely not what I want from my eyeshadows personally. So I used the palette, which was PR. I also used this Jillian Dempsey Kohl eyeliner, which was also PR. And I also used the Pat McGrath Dark Star Mascara, which was also PR. Also from Jillian Dempsey, also sent by the brand for review, the cheek tint. This is something that I've been using a lot since it came. And weirdly, I have grown less fond of the formula over time because it sort of feels like in between uses, it really dries out and it really smells like coconut oil and it just has this sort of stiffness. The surface of the pan, it kind of becomes unattractive between uses. It doesn't have like this nice, I don't know, like dewy gooiness when I go back into it. It feels a little bit more disappointing than it did when I first started using it every time I open it. But I've grown more and more fond, I can't remember if I said this, but this is what's happened, of the color. Even though it seems pink and it seemed a little bit pink at the beginning and it even looks a bit pink, when it blends out, it really gives me kind of a natural, pretty neutral flush. And that's the kind of thing that's hard for me to find because I'm so pale. Blushes tend to be pretty high impact on me no matter what. I feel like I can get like a nice glow with this one, not glow from reflective qualities, but just glow from adding color to the face, but without adding too much actual color to specifically my face. I really like that. To apply it, I grabbed the Erin's Faces foundation brush, which I've been really enjoying for cream products lately. This is also something that was sent to me by the brand. And then I also have been going back with the concealer brush, which I've determined I'm going to wash today. And so I don't mind getting some blush on it today. I just really like that. I like how a pretty heavy application of it still looks pretty skin-like and also looks pretty natural. I'm going to put this lip combo on my lips. It's what I've been using incessantly lately. It's M Cosmetics Mink, which the brand did send to me. It's a lip liner, and the Clarins Instant Light Perfector what is it called? Yeah, Instant Light Natural Lip Perfector, which I have gotten more use out of this product than probably anything that's been sent to me as PR from a brand this entire year. And yeah, maybe even going back a couple months before this year. I use it all the time. It's a perfect wedding between something a little bit, it's elevated beyond just a chapstick, but it's as easy to wear as something like that. And it isn't ostentatious at all. It works even when I have no makeup on my face, and it really works to complement kind of light, natural, glowy looks as well. And it plays well with others. So it's just become a real go-to for me. I'm contemplating buying it once I use it up. I keep fearing that it's on its very last legs, although it's impossible to tell because the tube is opaque. All right, there we go. That's the look. I would say this is just like a random light makeup look that I might wear for camera, for filming. I'm not sure if I'm gonna have time to film another video after this, but this is the kind of thing I might do if I really wanted like a light, natural look, but I was going to be filming. If I wasn't gonna be filming, I maybe wouldn't have put on eyeshadow today, just mascara, maybe taking a little less care with my complexion. You know what I mean? But this is like a polished look, but without going hard with anything like eyes or lips or anything like that. And I just picked what I felt like using. So like randomly just grabbed whatever brushes worked, whatever powder was at hand, and the eyeshadow palette that I happened to want to be demonstrating on camera. And now let's go through and add up the overall cost of all of these items. I want to start with the things that I paid for myself. Okay, so here are all of the things that I purchased myself that are things that I happened to grab today when I sat down to do my makeup. So the tint kit from Godefroy, which is what I used last night to dye my brows, was about $20. And I'm just looking up like what they're listed for right now. I don't exactly remember if I like got anything on sale or like the price of this fluctuates, you know what I mean? So I don't know. I'm just this, you know, these are rough estimates. This isn't an exact science over here. But that is currently listed for $20. The face mist, oh no, this is in the wrong category because I didn't buy that myself. But the soap I did buy myself, the Ortigia soap, that's $10. And the ABH brow brush that I purchased for myself all those years ago was $18. The electric palette, which I had to buy to get this brush, I think retailed for $42. It's discontinued now, so it didn't come up with a price, but I think I remember it being $42. The Makeup Forever concealer is $28. The NARS concealer is $32. And the Wayne Goss brush, which I purchased back before my no-buy year, is $35. It's the O2 brush. So altogether, those things cost me $185. That means that over time, at some point over the past several years, I've spent altogether $185 in order to be able to do everything that I did on my face today. $185 of my own money went into this face. That was only 7 of the makeup products and tools that I used. The vast majority of the things that I reached for are things that were sent to me by brands. So the next category is actually going to be the big one, is going to make up the majority. So this $185 is actually, I'm starting to suspect just a pretty small fraction of what the overall cost of this face is going to end up having been. Okay, are you still there? I mean, I guess I probably just cut all of that out, but I've been sitting here looking up each item one by one, writing down all of the prices and then adding up all the prices in a calculator. And let me tell you, it's grim. And in the meantime, I can't even tell what it is. Some sort of probably edge trimmer. Please welcome to stage, grass edge trimmer, echoing in the distance. But it's also interesting. And I don't know, all of the takeaways are starting to kind of like fire through my head back and forth. And I feel like the sort of shocking one, or the maybe biggest one, actually does have to do with the difference between how much of this stuff I bought myself and how much is PR, and then the monetary difference between how much I actually spent of my own money on what I needed to get this makeup look that I got just by casually sitting down and, you know, going through my makeup and choosing whatever I felt like choosing. So Here are the numbers. The Glossier Mist is worth $15. And again, this wasn't sent to me by the brand. It was given to me by a friend, but it's like in this world, like in the realm of YouTube stuff sent for free from brands to influencers. It's something that I wouldn't have acquired if I weren't doing this work. And so in that way, it was like acquired because of this work. In any case, I didn't spend my own budget on it. And those are all the things that are in this category. Same with the Glow Lust. My channel budget paid for it, but I didn't buy it, and I wouldn't have bought it. And I wouldn't have bought the Glossier Mist either. I think, and I'm going to try to let you know about each one of these. I think that this, if Auric were to come out with a much lighter shade, like a very pale neutral or yellow tone shade, that's a real match for me that I could kind of use for coverage. I've been loving the effect of this so much that I could see myself buying that with my own money at some point in the future. But this bottle, which is like too dark for me and too cool toned, I wouldn't go back and purchase that, and I didn't buy that one. The Aaron's Faces concealer is $29. That was sent to me by the brand, but I do really love this product. This is something that I would purchase if it wasn't sent to me. The Tom Ford bronzer brush was $115. This is like the most expensive thing on the entire list. This, again, was a gift. This is something that I love so much that I feel like is so wonderful that if I lost it and if the Refer version were taken away from me, I would probably buy the Refer version. I would spend my own money gladly on either this on the secondhand market or the Refer version brand new, but I didn't buy either of them. The Kevyn Aucoin Neo Highlighter, as I said, is something that I have bought myself before and would or will buy myself again, but it's since been discontinued in this big size, which is worth $58. It's how much it used to retail for. They re-released it in a smaller size, which is way better all around. I think it's currently retailing for $38, the small size, but this exact one was worth $58, so that's what I wrote down. And the Givenchy powder, which I wouldn't buy myself, I feel like a powder is a powder is a powder. I wouldn't spend this much on one. It's worth $58. I do like these Aaron's Faces brushes. I would probably gladly purchase this concealer one because since I was sent it, it's become my go-to concealer brush and I would really miss it if it were gone. It's $32. Even though I really like using the foundation brush for cream cheeks, I wouldn't buy it for cream cheeks. I have enough other brushes that work well for cream cheeks. It's also worth $32. And the Royal & Langnickel brush, which I can't tell if it's like they've changed brand names or whatever, but I think that I found it and I think it's only $8. That's a great price. I use this brush almost every day. The eyeshadow base from Alter Ego is $6. I really like this. I feel like this is a good price for eyeshadow base. I'm not sure I would buy it myself though. I'm not sure what I would or will do when I run out, if I were to run out of / when I run out of eyeshadow base. I'm not sure what I will do. I've always said that I would probably just purchase the Milani one from the drugstore because it's the one that's supposed to be amazing at the drugstore and I've never gotten a chance to try it. That's probably what I would do. In any case, this one's $6. The palette retails for $49. The Jillian Dempsey eyeliner retails for $20. This is a great liner, but I probably wouldn't go buying it myself. The Pat McGrath mascara, same thing. It's a great mascara, but I probably wouldn't go spending the $30 on a mascara. The Jillian Dempsey Cheek retails for $28. Again, like it, but don't love it enough to buy it myself. The M Cosmetics liner, I could see myself buying at some point, but it is expensive. The lip liner, it's $19. And then the Clarins Natural Lip Perfector, as I said, I could see myself buying, but it also is expensive, $26. And all of those PR items, some of which I wouldn't spend my own money on, as I was saying, going through, and some of which I would, but I feel like, I'm just saying this off the top of my head, but I feel like there were only maybe a third of those things that I feel like would be worth my money. About 2/3 of them are things that I'm just happy to use because they came my way as gifts. The costs of all of those individual items added up to $570, so almost $600, which is a lot more than I was expecting. When I conceived of this video, I was like, it's probably a few $100s worth of makeup, but it's actually almost $600 worth of makeup, just the stuff that was sent to me in PR that I used today. And the overall total of that, the $570, that was PR plus the $185 that I spent myself on those 7 other items. It means that it's $755 worth of makeup that I just casually applied to my face. $755 worth of makeup and tools. I don't feel like it was that much. And I certainly don't feel like I look like it was that much. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't even an elaborate look. This is just kind of semi-everyday for me. So what can we learn from this? I feel like it's a beautiful illustration of something that I know very well because I'm over here on the other side of it, but that I never tire of reiterating and that I feel like is really important to continually say, which is that what you see when you watch YouTube, even when you're watching like pretty small creators, I mean, all things considered, I'm, on the small end. And, people who don't appear to receive or don't receive all that much PR, which is also true of me compared to creators, even some creators who are about the same size as me in terms of viewers and views. I say no to a lot of things, and there are a lot of brands that opt out of sending stuff to me. I think probably because I tend to be so frank about how important it is not to overspend on stuff. I'm not going to just like take everything that comes and push it and try to sell it and encourage people to overspend on it or to overlook the issue of overspending. So a lot of brands, just skip over me because that's my philosophy. So I am, again, like on the small side in terms of receiving PR. And still, I'm over here sitting down, just demonstrating a pretty light makeup look with just a casual handful of products and $600 worth of these products. It's stuff that I didn't pay for and that I didn't choose. And I, going by the sort of like vague fraction math that I did before, we could maybe say that $400 or $500 worth of it is stuff that I wouldn't spend my own money on. Now, I have, of course, in my lifetime spent this whole amount, $755 on makeup. I could easily go over to my vanity and collect a full face of makeup, all of which I purchased myself, because I do have eyeshadow palettes that I spent my own money on and mascaras that I spent my own money on. You know what I mean? Like, I could gather a group of items that I paid for all myself and do a whole full face and add it all up, and it would probably come to this amount. The takeaway from that is that's a lot of money that I've already spent on stuff that's still good, that I'm still using. And that's a real deterrent for me when I think about going out and then spending another $50 here, $100 there on more makeup when I already have this makeup. You know what I mean? Like, looking the numbers in the face and looking at not just the numbers in the abstract, but the practical application of the numbers. Like, it costs another $50 just to powder your neck, and then you add that all up just in the course of things. And again, I didn't feel like I was using that many dollars worth of makeup. I didn't feel that way. So going through the motions, feeling that you don't feel that way, but then adding it up, that makes me want to be really think it through, like really circle back, really take myself to task when decision making about buying makeup in the future, especially buying makeup that's another version of a thing that I already have, like going out and buying another glowy cheek creamy base thing, or another cream cheek, or another concealer brush or something like that. It really gives me pause. And I already had a lot of pause. I mean, I'm over here with pause. I've got pause out the wazoo. More pause than Sadie. I think that's all I've got. I mean, what this was going to be just a get ready with me, but it turned out to be a video that's like, Hannah sits down and just grabs a handful of makeup that she feels like applying, and then it turns out that that was $750 worth of makeup. And that is in large part because she makes YouTube videos, but it could very well have been $750 worth of makeup even if she didn't make YouTube videos. And how does that make us feel about our spending habits going forward? And curtain. Like, that's the end of the video. And I'd love to know what you guys think. I would actually really love it if you would do this. Like, tomorrow when you do your makeup, especially if you have kind of a selection, like if you have a larger collection and every day you kind of like choose a little face, like an everyday makeup drawer, and then apply it. Do that as if you weren't going to add up all the numbers, and then add up all the numbers. And then if you care to share in the comments, let us know how it makes you feel. Or if you want to just go back and look at what you used this morning and then put the numbers in the comments and let us know how it makes you feel. I think that, counting, while it isn't everything about self-awareness and changing our habits, it can often shine a light that was not heretofore shined on, you know, what we're doing. It's just like another way of looking at it, a way of looking at it from another angle. So I hope that this was enjoyable for you. It was definitely interesting for me. Maybe I can make this a series. Every once in a while, just sit down, put on makeup, add up the numbers, talk about our feelings. Let me know if you think that would be interesting. And don't forget to take extra good care of yourself today, because that's what'll make you the most effective version of yourself as you do your work in the world.